What's up everyone, Lordgasm here, and today I want to talk about the very first classic Doctor Who episode, An Unearthly Child.
Been expecting you.
So as of recording this, it is officially the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, meaning it is also the 60th anniversary for this episode. Now I'm not going to talk about all 4 parts. I just want to talk about the very first episode. And if you're unfamiliar with classic Doctor Who, most of the stories are broken up into like 2 and even up to 12 episodes. It's usually just like one story, just broken, and they're only like 20-minute episodes. But today I just want to talk about the very first episode that started it all. Now this show was created by Canadian producer Sydney Newman, producer Verity Lambert, which was, I'm pretty sure, the very first woman to head a show in the BBC. Writers C.E. Weber, Donald Wilson, and Anthony Coburn. Directed by Waris Hussein, and the script editor was David Whitaker. In this show, it came out 3 years before Star Trek even came out, and 14 years before Star Wars. So this is like cutting edge science fiction. And in my opinion, it is like, it revolutionized science fiction. And I mean, honestly, Star Trek pretty much took the same premise, where it was the ship goes to planet, saves planet, leaves planet, next episode. And that's pretty much the whole formula for Doctor Who. And this show has been on air with very few breaks for the past 60 years, but making it the longest running science fiction show and one of the longest running TV shows, only being out by another BBC show, Coronation Street, and then an American show, The Tonight Show. But that's enough backstory. So let's get into the episode. We start off with the classic theme song. It is so good. It sounds great. It sounds alien. Now they don't do like what Loki did with Theremin. I don't know specifically what they use, but it just sounds great. And then you get the nice wavies of the background, which I'm pretty sure I heard, I don't know 100%, but it was made by taking 2 cameras and pointing them at each other. So that's pretty dope. Now before the theme even ends, it continues while the show starts, and we see a policeman just walking down the street, and then he checks the locks of the scrapyard. And then as he walks away, the camera enters the scrapyard, and then we see a police box. Then that's when we get hit with the title card, An Unearthly Child. After that, we enter Coal Hill School, where we are introduced to 2 teachers, Barbara Wright and Ian Chesterton. And they are talking about one of their students, Susan Foreman, and how she is like really smart for 15. She knows like so much. And then they start talking about her home life, about how her grandfather's a doctor, but then they check on her address, and her address is a junkyard, which makes them very curious. Now, as of today's TV style, I can see how this can be like really boring. We're already 5 minutes into the episode, and all they've done was exposition. They just talk about Susan the whole time. But it's also building a mystery up, because it's like, this strange girl, where'd she come from, what's she doing? So like, I don't think it's bad necessarily. I can just see how viewers of nowadays show wouldn't be like jumping on it, because it's not like action-packed right off rip. It's just a lot of talking, which I don't mind. But I can see why somebody nowadays wouldn't like it. And then also, with the show being in black and white right now, I can also see that I'm not a big fan of black and white personally, but for Doctor Who I don't mind. And like Clerks, I didn't mind for Clerks, but I tend to fall asleep during black and white shows or movies. So I mean, honestly, the episode's kept my interest so far, so it's all good. Now, I have seen this episode before. but I have rewatched it just to talk about it today. Now, because I did start off watching New Who, finding out that the Doctor had a granddaughter kind of blew my mind. Like, we knew about companions. I know about, like, Jenny, his daughter, clone thing. But then finding out he actually has a granddaughter just blew my mind. But then there's also theories that it's not actually his granddaughter, it's just like a random Gallifreyan girl that got kidnapped, or just like gone on an adventure with him because she was bored with the Time Lords or Gallifreyan lifestyle. I don't think Susan's technically a Time Lord. I think she's just a Gallifreyan. So she never looked into the schism. She never got regenerations. I think she's just random Gallifreyan child. Now, at this time, it does sound like they're on a soundstage, which is kind of like off-putting a little bit about the show, especially in these early seasons, like, or the early episodes. It does sound like soundstage a lot, which I'm not going to fault the episode, you know, for the times, that's what they had. I'm not faulting it. I'm just saying, if you do go into this, just expect it. I don't know if it's not an echo, but like, it just sounds like when you talk in a big open room. The projection of your voice is a little louder. That's kind of like what it sounds like, but I don't think it's a turn away from it. But that's enough ranting. Back to the episode. We are then introduced to Susan Foreman, who is played by Carol Ann Ford. She is playing a 15-year-old, but she's 22 at the time. And she's dancing to some music. And then Barbara gives her a book about the French Revolution, which she promptly reads and notes that there's misinformation. And then after the teachers leave, they roll up to the scrapyard because they're really curious about what's going on. And then they start talking more. These teachers are like obsessed with Susan. They're just talking crap about her left and right. They're either mad because she's too smart, or they're mad because she's bored in class. They're talking about how she thinks that the British are on the decimal system, which at the time America was on, and the British weren't on yet, but they would be on it. Which she even states, which is crazy, because I don't think there were plans for the British to be on the decimal system at that point. So then the fact that they ended up on it is like Simpsons level foreshadowing. Or they're mad that she's bored in science class because she wants 2 active chemicals to mix and not some boring non-active chemicals. And then also mad that she uses time and space as parts of an equation, which makes sense to me. I mean, the 60s. This is after Albert Einstein. He was in the 40s. He was using time and space. So, I don't know why they're mad about that. After they're sitting there for a minute, they see her walk into the scrapyard, and then they presume that she's being promiscuous, which makes no sense. And then Barbara was like, well, hopefully she is, because then she'd be normal. Like, why are you hoping that she's meeting up with a boy in a junkyard? That the 60s. I don't get it. Then they follow her into the junkyard, and they're being hesitant. They look around, and they start calling her name, and then they find the police box, and they touch it, and they can feel a vibration off of it. And Ian notes that it's alive, which is funny, because as we know, the TARDIS is sentient, and is alive. So, he's right, even though at the time, technically, he isn't. It's just the fact that it's a ship and it's vibrating. Then he goes and looks to see if it's connected to anything, and it's not, which we know what this leads to. Bigger on the inside. Gumdrop. And at that moment, an old man walks through the gate towards the box, and he tries to unlock it, and you hear Susan greet him, and then Ian and Barbara confront him and they hear him, or they hear her. They ask him about Susan, and then he plays dumb, and he's very condescending. The doctor is very condescending. In these early days, the doctor is kind of a dick, but as the series goes on, he warms up to people, and you can tell in these early days, he hasn't really dealt with humanity as much as clearly he's done later. He just has popped around checking out Earth's history, and he's just pretty much just studying this planet. He hasn't engaged as much as he will in the future, which he does a little bit throughout the series, but then as you see in Twice Upon a Time, he's like really surprised about how much it actually does happen for his future regeneration. At this point, Ian threatens to get the police, thinking that the old man like kidnapped Susan. Susan then opens the door, and Ian and Barbara burst in the police box, revealing that the council room of the TARDIS. Susan then starts questioning why the teachers followed, while Ian is mind blown about the TARDIS being the TARDIS, and that it's bigger on the inside. He actually doesn't say it's bigger on the inside. You know, I figured it would have started right here since they use it so much in New Who. I figured it was like a trope from the very beginning, but apparently it wasn't. And then the doctor just talks down to him about not knowing how the technology works, about being like mind blown about it. But like, it's alien Time Lord technology. How would he even understand it? And then he starts trying to compare it to television. Like, it doesn't compare at all to television. But you know, I guess it's just the thing. The doctor's just being very dickish. And you could tell that he's really enjoying being the smartest one in the room. Like, he's like giggling to himself about it. At this point, Susan explains that she created the name TARDIS by using the initials time and relative dimensions in space, or dimension in space. They add the S later on in the series, but at this time it was just dimension in space. And that's really cool, knowing that she came up with the name TARDIS, even though in the episode The Fugitive Doctor we find out, you know, it's called a TARDIS before that. I mean, Doctor Who canon. And then I really don't want to get into Timeless Child shenanigans right now. Ian and Barbara attempt to escape, and as Ian touches the console, he's electrocuted. Now, knowing the future of the show, I'm gonna say this is probably the TARDIS being sentient, purposely doing it so that the Doctor can have some companions, because it wants to help him become his best self. And we do know that the TARDIS is sentient, and it has a mind of its own, and it just kind of does things. And it always tries to, like, put the Doctor in situations that always betters himself. The Doctor says they can leave, but then he lies. And as they try to leave, he starts the ship and travels through time. And then that is how we start our very first adventure. They land, we see a shadow walking towards the TARDIS, we get the title for the next episode, and then the credits roll. Well, bam, first episode, 20 minutes long, so good. Now onto my thoughts about the episode. As a watcher of New Who, seeing the Doctor like this can be a shock. He's grumpy, he's condescending, he patronizes Ian for his lack of knowledge of alien Time Lord tech. That's not the Doctor I was used to. Now, these traits do pop up in later Doctors, but they definitely have a lot more humanity to them in the future. Don't get me wrong though, I don't think this is bad, it was just unexpected. I like seeing that this is where it started. And how the Doctor has grown. That's definitely character development. That's good. He started from being a grumpy old man, and now he loves humanity. It's great. There was a lot of exposition for only being a 20-minute episode, but it was also used to build the mystery of this strange girl, who seems very foreign to them. So it worked for me. I was enthralled. It wasn't boring necessarily. They were talking a lot of crap about her though, so I thought that was where like these teachers need to get a life. I don't know if all teachers just sit there and just talk about their students. They probably do. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. I did enjoy the way the TARDIS looked. The white. It looks great. I think they got this white look by painting it green, I think. Was what I heard. I'm not 100% on that. It looked great. I love it. I do like the Grumpy Doctor. As much as, I was saying I was not used to it. But, you know, my favorite Doctor is Peter Capaldi. As you can see. And he's grumpy. So, you know, I can see it. And then I would give this episode like an 8 out of 10. It's definitely worth the watch to see where the show got started. I'm definitely going to watch more. I have watched all of season 1 and then in season 2. But I'm going to do a rewatch just so I can do like reviews on everything. I will be dropping the review of the other Unearthly Child episodes later. I just wanted to get this first one out of the way, especially because it's the 60th anniversary. And then I want to just continue. I haven't watched all of Classic Who yet, so I want to watch it all. I have seen random episodes here and there. On the Roku channel, there's like a Doctor Who channel that you can watch, and it's just continuous Doctor Who in order. So I've seen just like random episodes of other Doctors. But yeah, I want to keep this going. I want to watch all of Classic Doctor Who. I've seen all of New Who. I'm gonna keep watching New Who. Yeah. So there it is. I want to say happy 60th anniversary to Doctor Who. Happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate it. And thank you for watching. And I will catch y'all next time. Peace.